right. So my name is Susan Kadilak. I have been in real estate. I've been licensed since 2002. I'm also a licensed builder. So we do residential real estate. We do building. We also do construction and design. So we kind of do all things home. We have clients who we sell them property and then we renovate it for them or rebuild it. And we do just straight residential and straight just regular construction projects. I'm the head broker of 5 in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We have a team of 20, and we service Greater Boston, Southern New Hampshire, in Massachusetts. So that's where we are. And I wanted to talk about this today and just kind of go through, kind of how our business has changed. I've been in the business for a long time. When I first got into the business, there were no online lead companies to sell you leads. There were no, there wasn't this, like, no one came in expecting to be handed leads. It's a very different business today than it was 22 years ago when I started. So whenever I hear agents that are struggling or agents that are kind of trying to restart their business, I always think about when I first came into the business. Um, you know, I came into my brokerage, there was no training, and it was like, "Hello, welcome, good luck, I hope you sell something," and that was pretty much it, right? And I was like, "Okay, what do I do now? Crap." So I ran to the bookstore, I bought every single book that they had on how to sell real estate, and I read them all and basically just did what they said. So I wanted to go through some of those kind of going back to basics, because looking at our industry now, I pulled the numbers. So in 2002, over 5 million transactions happened. And we have about 1.5 million realtors. And that is about 3.3 transactions per agent. And last year, that number dropped to a little over 4 million. So the number of transactions per agent went down to 2.66. So we have more agents, we have fewer deals. It is more competitive. And we all have to work harder to find clients and find deals, and not everyone has the money to invest in, running ads, or, they may not be interested in some of these lead generation companies. Some of the, it's a totally different process, and they have very hefty referral fees. So I think, in order to be in this business and last in this business and have to kind of know how to generate leads when you need to, is a skill that every agent should have, no matter how long you've been in the business. Because when you think about any other business, like think about a restaurant, you could have the best food in the world. You could have an amazing chef. It could be great. But if you have no one in your restaurant, it doesn't matter. You're not making any money. You're not making any sales. And your job as a restaurant owner is to get people in those seats and fill up your restaurant and sell your food. And your job as a real estate agent is to get people to work with you and be in front of people and find clients and make sure that that you're selling homes and that you have a viable business. Because oftentimes people come into this business, they don't realize that that is such a big part of the job, because you're an independent contractor, you're running your own business, and you are responsible for finding those clients to fill your restaurant, so to speak. So I think when people think about other businesses, it makes sense. They're like, well, yeah, of course you need to find clients. But for some reason in our business, I find that people either thought it would be easier or wish it was easier. And the truth is, it's a lot of hard work. I was reading a post on Facebook this morning, and it's very common of when I see, she just got her license, a year ago. And she says, I have no sales. I have cold called. I have done mailers. I have done social media. I have done house tours. I have done CMAs. I have door knocked. I have gone to conferences. I have been nurturing my SOI. Nothing's happening. I'm doing all of these things and nothing's happening. Someone said, why don't you think about joining a team? Well, I heard that that's no good. Why don't you think about this? Well, I heard that that's no good. Right. And sometimes we have to stop and think about, it's not that all of those things don't work. It's that maybe it's not being done the right way. Maybe it's not being done enough. Maybe there's something there's something missing. So as I go through each lead generation tactic, I'm going to talk about both active and passive, because you can have someone who says, I have done 100 open houses and I have gotten nothing out of it. They don't work. And then you could have another agent who says, I have done 100 open houses and I have gotten 100 sales out of those open houses. What's the difference? It's not that open houses don't work. It's how are you working each, each lead pillar. So we always say in the office, do more, do better. Whatever you're doing, if it's working, do more. And if it's working, do it better. How can you do it more? How can you do it better? And if it's not working, maybe it is something you need to cut. But if it is working, how can you make it better? How can you do more? How can you double down? So a lot of these ideas are going to be things that you have heard before, but I'm going to kind of, like I said, go into each one and say what does passive look like? What does active look like? And how can you, if it may be a lead source that maybe you're already working, but are you squeezing everything out of it? And I always say that the secret is that there is no secret. There is no secret to all of this. It's just really digging in and putting the effort in. So the first one, and I see we have Erica on the call, and I have her as my example because she does great at social media. And we all hear the generic term social media. So when you're thinking about passive social media tactics, you're thinking about posting, you're thinking about doing home tours, previews, new construction. Maybe you're doing informational videos. Maybe you're doing tips and tricks. But that's very passive, right? You're posting, you're throwing stuff out there, that's being very passive. But are you being active? Are you engaging with people on social media? Are you also commenting on other people's posts? Are you putting up stories? Are you looking at who's looking at your stories? And are you going back and engaging with those people? Stories are a great place to find like who's online right now and who's looking at your stuff. Right, because if you go to someone's profile and they have an old post, you don't know when the last time is that they've been online, but if they're looking at your stories, you're gonna see that they've seen it, and you can then go and engage with them and know that they have been on active on social media recently, and they're gonna be more likely to see what you're posting, and if you're looking at their stories, they're more likely to come see what you're doing, and it's that activation of that interaction that is gonna increase your conversion. When you're meeting people out in public, are you connecting with them on social media, right? Sometimes it's awkward to say, "Hey, can I have your phone number and your email?" Right? Versus, "What's your Instagram handle?" My son, he's 13, and, we have a sports court, and we had met another family who's about his age, and my husband said to him, "Hey, you should, call him, maybe you guys could hang out in the sports court." My husband said, "Let me get a cell phone number," and my 13-year-old was like, Why would you do that? That's weird." No, he needed his social media handle. He's like, "We don't talk on the cell phone. We connect on social media." So I thought that was funny. And it's less direct, it's less invasive. It keeps you in front of them versus you met someone one time and a week or two go by and they're like, "Oh, I met this person. I don't remember who they were." But if they see you on social media and you're actively engaging with them, you're going to stay in their mind. So you're more active, you're engaging, connecting with your past clients and your SOI on a regular basis. Do you have a strategy where on social media you're going to the people that you know, going and engaging on their posts, like very purposefully, not just doing the doom scroll, right? Where Facebook shows me all these crazy things that I don't want to see. But are you going in and thinking about like who do I want to connect with? Who do I need to stay in touch with? Even, it doesn't have to be real estate related. It is just maintaining that connection is going to take that social media content that you're posting and it's just going to amplify it. Second thing is open houses. This is a big one that I hear. I've done open houses, it does nothing, right? So if you do an open house and you throw up one sign, you put it in MLS, you don't have a system for sign-ins, there's no organization and no follow-up, and you're just waiting for people to call you. I always say nobody's going to find you. right? This is why you have to be proactive and you have to make sure that you are doing the follow-up. So another one of my agents, Laura, who's on this call, had done an open house on one of our listings. And after every open house, she sends a video and says, "Hey, thanks for coming to my open house at this address." So it puts her face with the house. They remember her because they just saw her. She had someone who had responded and said, "Hey, no one's ever, done that before. No one's ever followed up and sent me a video." They may go to 10 open houses that day. How many agents are gonna send them a video and thank them for coming to the open house? Even if they don't respond, and then the next day after the open house, are you calling and asking for feedback? Are you asking them, what did they think of it? Right? That puts you in a position we can start asking other questions. Have you made other offers? It gets you into a conversation. And Laura converts a lot of people from open houses because she does this. She doesn't just leave the open house and go home and go, "Oh, I hope somebody calls me." Right? Those people would know. She did end up selling that client a house, but those people would never have hunted her down and said, "Oh, I wonder who that agent was at that house that had 700 people." The 10th open house I went to for the day. They're not going to remember you. There's so many realtors. There are 1.5 million realtors. Everyone knows a realtor. They're not gonna come looking for you. You have to be active. You have to make sure that you're being proactive. So doing the follow-up on the same day of the open house, sending that video, calling the next day, trying to have that conversation. If they don't answer, sending them a text message. And then it's okay if they don't answer, still keep them on your list. If another house comes on the market, even if it's someone else's listing, the same price point, a similar house, you can always call them up and say, "Hey, I met you at 123 Main Street. I don't know if you saw, but this other house on Main Street just came on, similar price, similar location. I thought you might be interested." I had a house that I sold a few years ago. It was $1 million house, and it was exactly by doing that. The second time I met these people was at the house that they put an offer on because I wrote the offer without ever seeing them again. I'd been sending them property. They went to the open house and then they called me and said, "Hey, we want to write an offer." And I met him at the home inspection. I would not have recognized him walking on the street, but I had done the follow up and said, "Hey, this other property came on the market." And sometimes they don't answer, but as long as they tell you not to stop calling them, a lot of times they're looking at it going, okay, that's interesting. And then when they are interested in a property, they might say, "Oh, Laura has been taking time every week and been sending me properties. I'm going to talk to her." So it puts you in front of the client. They remember you versus you just being lost in the sea of all of the open houses that they've gone to. So being more active, doing your reach outs, and then keeping all of those people, on a list, tagging them, making sure, again, when something else comes out, are you reaching out to them? And I believe that's how Laura got her first couple sales was she had met someone at an open house, followed up with them for, I don't know, 6 months, and then all of a sudden got a call and said, "Hey, I wanna make an offer, and, oh, by the way, also, I need to sell my house." Hadn't seen her since the open house 6 months before, but she was religiously every week following up with her, sending her listings, and then she converted that client. And like I said, she converts a lot from open houses. And having a system where you're following up and being active versus just doing the open house and saying, "Oh, nothing happened," right? These people that are not going to come find you, you have to be proactive. Um, Another one is yard sales and garage sales, right? So being passive, you can look on Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if around here that's pretty big. You can find the people, send them mailers to anyone who looks like they're cleaning up to move. Or if you want to be a little bit more active, you can go to yard sales and garage sales, estate sales, talk to the owners. I know that this is a strategy for a lot of real estate agents. I had a listing that I just put on a couple weeks ago, and the owner had done a yard sale. And it was it was funny because another agent who's on our team had said, "Oh, I went and talked to her at the yard sale." So I thought it was funny because she was out there doing that, and we'd already signed a contract, but a lot of times the people who are out there doing yard sales and selling their stuff, they're getting ready to move. So That could be another lead source.
One thing that the Provident team does with garage sales, they do a whole citywide garage sale. We provide the map, and so there's this day that we advertise for, and then everybody signs up to host a garage sale, and then the agents go and connect with the homeowner, and it is a great way to get clients that way.
Yeah, we do have realtors in our town that do that in our town, but we do have other towns that we could do that in. But it is a great way because a lot of times that's why people are doing that. They're getting ready to do something usually. So a lot of times you don't think about that that could be, kind of a target audience. Expireds and for sale by owners, passively is sending the direct mail pieces and then praying that they call you, right? Hoping that they're going to reach out to you. If you want to be more active, when I first started with expireds, the tactic was always show up at the house with something. Show up on the weekend when they're outside, go introduce yourself, go say hello, have a conversation. Of course, you can call, the day of, but showing up if it's an old expired, that might be another way to have a conversation. For sale by owners, show up at the open house, offer to do their open houses. We had one of our agents, I think it was last weekend and the weekend before, has been talking to a for sale by owner, and he let her host all of his open houses for the weekend. Um, Give them something of value, make sure that you are, and be honest with them, especially a for sale by owner. I know her tactic is to say, hey, I don't have a buyer, but I'm here in case you need a backup plan. Right, but I'm sure your house is gonna sell because it's beautiful and it's priced right, so here are other ways I can help you. I can host open houses for you. If you decide that you wanna list, I have a tiered commission schedule. And they're like, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that." Right? What are those differentiators that you're not just, calling and saying, "Oh, give me your listing." How can you also help those people? For expireds, these are people who wanted to sell, but for some reason their plans didn't work out. So you're dealing with someone who has been, kind of kicked in the teeth by the market. So besides just mailing stuff, showing up, calling, having an expired package that you can go and deliver and have a conversation with them, being in front of people. And I think through COVID and social media, a lot of people, I'm going to work from home, I'm going to be behind the screen, but that's not where our clients are. You have to be in front of people in order to convert. So how can you take all of these tactics and think about, okay, how can I be in front of these people? How can I have a conversation? How can we get face to face? Because if you're not talking to people, you can't sell a house to the screen. You can only sell a house when you have a client in front of you. So the next thing is networking. Passively networking is only staying in touch with the vendors that you regularly work with, attending networking events, but not following up. You only see them at those places. So going back to social media, anyone that you meet out at networking events, make sure that you're connecting with them so that you're lengthening, so you're making that connection stronger. You're not just someone that they met one time at an event and they don't remember who they are, and you gave them your card, but it's lost. It's somewhere in their car. It's under their seat. They can't find it. They would have really have liked to call you, but they cannot actually remember your name, right? Versus that immediate, here's my social media, I'm going to follow you. And then you start engaging with them. If you start engaging with them in the next couple of days, they're going to say, oh, I remember I met Brian last night and here he is commenting on my social media. And if he continues to do that, I'm not going to forget Brian. But if I meet Brian and he gives me his card and I lose it, which I will most certainly do within the span of 5 minutes, and a week from now, I'm like, oh, I met that really nice realtor, and I should probably call him, and I don't remember his name or I'm never going to find him again, right? So if he doesn't take the time and put in the effort to stay in touch, I'm never going to remember him. So, and also make it part of your schedule to meet new vendors. Make it, you're going to have clients. I have my lender that I work with a lot. But he's not a lot of my clients tend to be analytical, and he does not like to explain things. And some of my clients don't like that. So he may not be a great loan officer for all of my clients. So making sure that you're connecting with new vendors, that you're building relationships, that is going to help your business and your clients, because you want to have different options so that you can make sure that you're making good connections and good fits between your vendors and your clients. And then also, as you're building your business, as your business gets bigger and you want to do events or you want to do other things, those same vendors that you're connecting with, they're going to be the ones who are going to help you grow. So make sure you're out there, you're meeting new vendors, interviewing local business owners, right? So highlighting local business owners on social media. Business owners tend to know a lot of people in the community. So those are people who you want to connect with. If you're highlighting their business, they tend to also share that content. So it also gets you out there more. And it's almost like, I was listening to this thing about branding, and it says branding is when you take one thing and you put it next to something else that people like, right? It's like a plain t-shirt is just a t-shirt. But once it has a Nike logo on it, it's a different thing. It's now a branded t-shirt and people will pay more. So if there is a business in your community that people like, and you've got this business that everyone likes, and then you're there interviewing them, they're seeing you next to this business that everyone likes, and that will help build your reputation in the community. Oh, you know, Craig runs this great bakery and everyone loves Craig. He has the best coffee shop and he's talking to Tammy. Tammy must be great because Craig is great. So therefore Tammy must be great, right? So building your network in that way and highlighting other people is going to get you more referrals, and it's going to keep you top of mind for everyone. And because they remember Craig, oh, Tammy's the one who did that thing with Craig. So also think about expanding, and doing stuff like that doesn't really cost any money, right? You're out there with your cell phone, you're doing videos, connecting with people. That is something that's going to bring referrals, and obviously making sure everyone knows this is what you do. Any thoughts or questions? I'm kind of in the middle here. Good. Another thing is hosting a coffee hour at the same place every week. I have seen many agents in our community build a business doing this and becoming friends with the shop owner, advertising it on social media. The thing you have to remember about this, it is an event that is low cost. The truth is that a lot of people probably won't show up, which is fine, because by putting that out every week, people are seeing that this is what you're doing. You're showing that you're active. You're showing your expertise. You're sharing market info. And by being in the same place every week, you get to know the people who work in the coffee shop. You get to know the regulars. I had an agent who did this every week, and she had like a party in the coffee shop every week. They were all waiting for her, and it became this thing because everyone knew and she had a really big personality. So if you've got a big personality and you love to be in there with people, and it was crazy. Every week she'd come in and she would just find people everywhere, but she had this coffee shop thing every week. One day she came into the office and dropped off a signed listing contract. And I said, well, where do you get this? Oh, a guy I met at the bar. She would just talk to everybody. She was great. So everywhere you are, make sure that you're putting that out there, that you're talking to the owner. Maybe you're doing a giveaway with the owner. Maybe what are different creative ways that you can connect with other people? Maybe you tie this into your networking. Maybe you bring an attorney in and have a coffee hour with an attorney, and ask me anything hour. Like, try to get creative and think, okay, what can I do that can provide value, that isn't going to cost a lot of money, that can give me some ROI. You're connecting one of our agents, by doing her coffee hour. A lender had seen what she was doing, went out and met her, and that's how she got her first deal, because the lender referred her a buyer. And that was just from putting it out on social media. So bringing everyone in and thinking about how can you do it by yourself, but also how can you leverage your connections in your network to give more value without having to spend a fortune. Craig, do you have your hand up by accident? Do you have a question?
Oh, I had a question. So you're talking about, if you're collecting information from, getting someone's social media handle or whatever it is.
Mhm. Yep.
Do you want to stick just in a relationship that way? Or where's the point at which you're going to say to somebody, hey, what's your email address, right? Because obviously, as agents, we've got different varieties of way that we're reaching out to people, and we'd like to
Mhm.
add them to an email address. We'd like, different things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it has to feel like it has to feel natural. There has to be a reason, right? When you think about when you're on the receiving end, when you meet someone, um, you want to kind of meet them where they're at, right? If they like to be on Facebook, you don't want to connect with them on LinkedIn. If they like to be on Instagram, you don't want to, you want to stick to what they like. And by like, maybe by having hey, I'm doing this coffee hour. Are you interested in going? I can email you the information. Or putting things out there. You want to make the relationship feel natural. You want them to feel like, oh, they're just, trying to, I mean, if you're staying in touch with them and they're active on the platform, that sometimes is enough. You don't always need to add them, to email, but you can also just ask. You could say, hey, I put out a real estate newsletter, every week. These are the things that are in it. If you're interested in being on the list, shoot me your email address and I'll add you. That's probably how I would word it. And then that way it's not awkward and it's non-committal and it's not like, oh, this is gonna get weird if I don't really want to be on Craig's email list. So I just, so maybe I just don't respond and then you just ignore it next time. But this is about building relationships. So if they're ready to transact and you've been engaging with them, they're going to say, hey, we need to talk. Here's all my stuff, right? We need to talk. Because what you're really trying to do is be in front of them so that when they are ready to do something, they say, oh, I got to call Craig because I know Craig. I met him 3 years ago, but we've been going back and forth on social ever since, and I know Craig, and I see all of his posts, and I see what he does, and when they're ready to go, they're just gonna DM you and say, "Hey, we're thinking about buying a place. Let's talk." But if you're not engaging with them, like I said, they're never gonna remember you, they're never gonna come find you. So, you could every once in a while throw out things like that. You could put something like that in your story. Hey, we're relaunching our email newsletter or whatever. If you're interested in being on the list, here are the things we send out, DM us your email. Make it native to the platform, if that makes sense. I hope that answered your question. Um, Another thing you could do if you decide to do coffee hours, wearing branded clothing, like making sure that you have your brand. A lot of our agents will get a sticker and put it on the back of their computer. So when they're sitting at the table, the back of the computer has the logo. So people who come in, even if they're not ready to talk, they might know, okay, that's a realtor over there. Make sure that you're engaging with the shop owner. Think about collaborating on a giveaway or promotion. Maybe one day you're giving away 10 copies or something for the next people who walk in, or collaborate with the lender to put that together. Think about different ways that you can engage with the people. Invite invite other people to attend. If you have a goal of expanding your vendor network, you could combine this with inviting a vendor to the coffee hour. So high efficiency. Be consistent. Do it at the same day and time every week. Don't do it. It's like when we do open houses, if we do Saturday and Sunday, if I do Saturday from 11 to 1 and I do Sunday from 1 to 3, everybody's showing up at the wrong time. I always make them the same time because people don't remember. If they know, okay, every Tuesday from 9 to 10, John's there, that, they're just going to know that it's a consistency and they know that they can count on that. Have professional market reports ready to give out to people, because some people will stop and talk to you and ask and have something ready to hand out with your information on it. And make sure, that you're engaging and making connections. The next one is your sphere and past clients. We just went through where all of our business is coming from. And just like I think a lot of realtors, a big chunk of our business comes from sphere and past clients. So we just talked about, okay, this is this, hate to say it, but this is the segment that we're actually spending the least amount of marketing dollars on right now. And I'm like, oh, like, imagine if we were focusing on this more. So that's what we're working on now is a plan to engage them more. But sometimes people feel weird, especially if they're new in the business, because they may know you as, Matt, the guy who sells cars. And now all of a sudden you're trying to be Matt, the guy who sells real estate. So sometimes it's hard to convert people who because they know too much. But as you get into the business and as you're establishing credibility and as you're building your business, you want to make sure those are the people that you stay in front of. Doing like kind of going the extra mile for them. If the only time they hear from you is that little intro card of, "Hi, I'm a real estate agent now," and that's it, they don't know what you've learned. They don't know how you've grown. One thing you can do is home equity updates for everyone you know, right? If you go in and present that home equity update and, over a Zoom or in person, you're now demonstrating credibility. You're demonstrating expertise. They're going, "Oh, Matt used to sell cars, but now it seems like he knows what he's talking about." Right? So they've seen you in action. They're more likely to refer you. They're more likely to think of you if you're providing a service and being in front of them. So, sending them things and making sure that you are showing them, yes, I've changed careers, or yes, you know me, but also you may not know me and, in this career, but figuring out a way to get in front of them and show them that you're confident, that you know what you're doing, that is going to go a long way. Because I think a lot of new agents that we have, like, that's kind of their fear of like, okay, they know me as this thing that I used to do before. They don't know me as this. And that, and if you are brand new, get a mentor, get someone to come with you, get someone to teach you, make sure that you're working on your skills. But getting in front of people is huge, because those are the people who are going to support your business, especially the more they see you growing in it. I always tell people, work through your Christmas card list, your wedding list, DM them on social media, make sure you're posting, make sure you're engaging with those people. Those should be part of your list that you are consistently engaging with, because they may not see if it's someone you went to high school with, for example, they may never see your stuff. But if you start engaging with them or you leave a comment, like, what do you do when someone leaves a comment on one of your posts, right? You immediately go, "Oh, what did they say? Who is it?" Right? And then you may say, "Oh, I haven't heard from them in a long time." Then you may go to their profile. What is on your profile when those people go there? What message are you sending? Right? What do they see? So I always call the posting and the engaging the yin and the yang. If you only engage and you never post, they're going to go to your profile and go, "Huh, he hasn't posted anything in 6 months. Guess he's not doing anything." Right? Or if you're only posting, they may not even go to your page, because what's the reason to go to your page? If you're commenting and engaging with them, that gives them more reason to go to your page and see what you're doing. Media. Media is something that everyone can take advantage of. Whether it's a podcast, going to your local, I don't know, everyone has local TV stations, local shows, local podcasts. Volunteer to be a guest on the podcast or radio show. Those places are always looking for guests to fill the spot. But when you're doing that, you always want to make sure that you're pitching them an idea. "Hey, I can come on and talk about this," or "This just happened in the market. Here's what I can come on and talk about. And here's why your listeners might be interested." Talk to local news and offer to write opinion pieces. You can submit opinion pieces to local newspapers, and a lot of times they'll print them for free. It may take a few times and some time to build up, but over time, if you're doing it consistently, they will start to say, "Okay, this person keeps emailing me. I want to write this thing about real estate. I'm just going to reach out to them because I know that they're interested in talking to us." So I'm talking to our local paper right now about doing like a monthly series, because they want to add a real estate section to their newspaper. You can also do press releases. If something, if there was a big sale, or if there was something, you know, you joined a new company or something else happened, you can write a press release and send it out. And a lot of times they will just print it. You can write opinion pieces. You can email people who run podcasts and say, hey, a lot of times the cadence is, hey, I came across your podcast on X. Here's what I do. We recently had this experience. This is what we do. And, so based on that, I think your audience might be interested in this other thing that I can talk about. We would love to have an opportunity to share our expertise and talk to you in your podcast or your radio show or whatever it is. A lot of times those things, some places do charge, but most do not. So a lot of times that's an avenue that you can work that a lot of people don't think about that. And it's not really expensive. It's just time consuming of doing the reach outs, just like everything else, sending out the emails, sending out the contacts. Community events that you can host that are low cost. We did an Easter egg drop this year. It was a lot of work, not a lot of money. It wasn't very expensive, but it was a lot of work. We had people sign up for Egg Your House, and we hid 10 eggs per child in the front yard. You can do toy drive, food drive, coat drive. Those are things where you're just being the conduit, where you're organizing, but you're not necessarily, it doesn't really cost you anything to put these things out. And again, you're aligning with organizations in your community and figuring out like how can I also be a part of the community and help, where you see a need. And you don't just want to do this at, around holidays and Christmas time, because that's when everyone does it. Think about other times during the year that you could do, food drives and coat drives and clothing drives and things like that. We have a place in our community called We Care. So they do everything for ages 5 and under. And we have some events that we do every year. And a lot of times we'll collect donations for them, or we do a holiday home tour every year that benefits another local charity. So think about, and the holiday home tour is everyone on the tour volunteers their home. So think about different ways that you can organize and hold events, but isn't necessarily going to cost you a fortune. So things like drives and things like, those types of things are going to align you in the right places. And it's going to be some work, but it's not going to cost you a ton of money. And the last thing is doing pop-bys, not just for your past clients. Think about who else in your network that you should be doing pop-bys with. So vendors, people who you've done CMAs for, your prospects who you want to stay in touch with. I had years ago a client, I had done a CMA for them. They were getting ready to sell their house. And then their 3-year-old unexpectedly broke his leg. So they were like, okay, we are pausing everything. Well, I sent them a cookie basket for the 3-year-old. Well, you would have thought I sent them $1 gazillion. Like as soon as that kid was healed, they were like, we're ready to go. They ended up selling their house and buying another house. But it was just funny how that little, getting a little surprise, people really appreciate that. So making sure that you're letting people know that you're thinking about them. Send something to anyone who refers you, even if it doesn't work out, right? Because you want to reward that behavior. Someone sends you a referral and the person decides not to sell, or even if they go with someone else, you still want to go back to that original person and send them something nice and say, hey, thank you for thinking of me. Because then they're going to say, oh, every time, I give out Erica's name, I get a little treat and I want another treat. So I'm going to give out Erica's name again. People love surprises. So thinking about who in your network and who around you, would appreciate a pop-by, or who are you thinking of? Who do you need to keep top of mind? And the biggest thing to remember on all of these, like I said, the secret is that there is no secret. Those were 10 different things, but the truth is you can pick 1 or 2 and just dive in and really do it, because there's so many ideas in real estate, which is helpful, but also, we all have ADHD. I think that's why we're in real estate. And as soon as we start doing one thing, we're like, oh my God, that's a great idea. I'm going to go do that now. And then we never finish the first thing that we started. So trying to make sure that you're digging in and really squeezing the juice out of whatever you're working on before you add something else is going to increase the effectiveness, right? Like that woman who said, I've tried open houses, I've tried door knocking, I've tried expireds, I've tried this, I've tried that. Well, if she's done 3 open houses and knocked 5 doors and, sent out 6 mailers, that's not going to work, right? You got to do more. Are you doing enough? Are you doing it better? Are your skills where they're supposed to be? And making sure that you have time in your schedule that you're dedicating to doing all of this. If social media is one of the things that you're going to do, are you dedicating time to saying, okay, this is going to be the time that I'm going to dedicate to creating content or to posting or to engaging? And, today's engagement is going to be my past clients, but, next week is going to be my sphere. And on this day, it's going to be this group. So being really, more intentional about whatever you're doing. And that's all I got. Questions, thoughts, comments?
So I had a question about your egg. I can't remember what you called it, but the Provident team does like an egg hunt, but did you go to each individual house and
Mhm.
do it for, okay, so that would be a lot of work.
Yeah, so we did an Egg My House, and we did it per community because obviously driving around delivering eggs, we're not, we kept it to a small geographical area. So different agents had different everyone did the community that they lived in. And then we did have a limit of, because we can only do so many houses, in a night. So we did 10 per child. I think we might have delivered like something like 5,000 eggs. I should have that number. I should find it. But it was fun, and it was, we got a lot of messages of like, thank you so much for doing this. This is great. One of my agents got a message from someone that basically, said, I'm getting divorced this year. I just don't have it in me to do this. Like, thank you so much for doing this. Cause now, my kids will, have something to look forward to. Like we were getting messages like that. And I was like, oh my God, like I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
So it was a fun thing to do. And that was our first year doing it. We called it, Egg My Yard. Cause we did only front yards.
The good thing about having them register and you have their address is you can do a CMA for them and be like, it's an easy next kind of
Right.
step.
Well, and then I'm texting them to, confirm, hey, you're signed up. This is what we have. So we know we're talking to real people, where so you get, and then as we do other events, because we do a couple other kid-based events later in the year. So we'll go back to that whole list and say, hey, invite them to our next event. And we know that they all have kids, so they'll, may be interested in that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, well, Susan, we appreciate you so much for presenting today, and just want to let you guys know that this Zoom meeting is recorded and put on our website, podcast, on YouTube, and so you can go and find it again. And she had a ton of different ideas through all of that. So yeah, we appreciate that. And then next week we have Rob Pemberton coming on, so we'll look forward to that. Make sure you join us.
Thank you so much.
So thanks again, Susan.
All right. Have a good day,
Good week,
everybody.
everybody.